We know that Labor, if they get too much power and get too much control, will go too far and make mistakes. Labor will try and introduce legislation to delete Row 8 and Row 9 forever. Labor have already said that they want to try and ram through stop and search powers. If there was no strong Liberal Party, we would not be able to stop those measures, and if Labor Party wanted to introduce higher taxes, there'd be nothing to stop that either. The best way that we can make sure that the Labor Party doesn't get too much power and doesn't get too much control after this election is by making sure we get as many Liberals elected locally as possible. And I'm going to be fighting together with my team right through to 6 p.m. tonight to make sure we do everything we can to get out there and talk to the people of Western Australia about how important it is to make sure there's a strong opposition and strong checks and balances in the WA Parliament for the next 4 years to come.
Zak, how are you feeling today heading into the final straight?
I'm feeling very confident. I'm feeling very positive. I enjoy elections. They're obviously very important for the future of our state, and ultimately, whatever the outcome, I'm very pleased that we're very lucky to live in such a great state where we have peaceful elections, and I'm very thankful for that. I'm feeling very good today.
Do you have any regrets, Zak?
No, not at all.
No regrets about the campaign?
No, not at all. Not at all.
Despite what some Liberals have said recently?
Yeah, no, I am feeling confident about the prospect of us getting out there as much as we can and fighting very hard through to 6 p.m. today. That's what I'm focusing on. I don't have any regrets at all about our campaign. I'm very proud of our team and our members and candidates who've been out there fighting hard.
What are you confident of? What would be a good result for you?
Well, from my perspective, obviously, I'm very hopeful of continuing to serve in the district of Dawesville and working alongside as many Liberal colleagues as possible in the WA Parliament.
What is your immediate reaction when you do read the headlines this morning of a 10.5% swing against you?
Well, this is only serves to reinforce the argument that we've been talking about for the last 2.5 weeks, that there is a Labor landslide coming, and that the only way to guard against Labor from deleting Row 8 and Row 9 forever, from introducing more taxes, from stopping them just ramming through stop and search laws, and anything else that the Labor Party would like to do is by making sure we get as many Liberals elected as possible. It only serves to reinforce what we have been saying for the last 2.5 weeks, that this is a very real risk, and it really underscores why it's so important that we get as many Liberals elected locally as possible.
If you hang on to your seat in Dawesville, do you hope to remain leader?
Yes. If I am lucky enough to win my district, I'll resubmit myself to the party room seeking their support for the leadership.
Would you prefer a more united Liberal team?
Ultimately, what's most important is that we are focused on the election through to today. I'm very proud of our members and candidates the whole way through. They've done an amazing job. This was always going to be a very difficult election. This was always going to be a very hard campaign. But the work really starts after 6 o'clock today as well, to make sure we have as many Liberals elected possible to hold the government to account for the 4 years to come.
Was this election already lost on November 24 when you became leader?
No election can be taken for granted. No district could be taken for granted. I think we have been working very, very hard to make sure we get out there and talk to as many West Australians as possible about what the cost and what the risk is if Labor does get a landslide majority in the WA Parliament.
Do you believe Labor has taken it for granted?
Yeah, I think the Labor Party has taken it for granted. I mean, we hear very little about what the Labor Party's plans for the next 4 years to come will be, and I think that's a very big danger for the future of our state. Labor has deliberately played a small target here. They have deliberately done everything they can to avoid, I think, the contest of ideas, and ultimately, once we got to that point, it was important to be honest with the people of WA about our prospects and why we had to really send the message to all West Australians seeking their support to make sure we have a strong Liberal opposition in the WA Parliament, to make sure that if Labor goes too far or when they make mistakes, that there's actually someone there to hold them to account and keep them honest.
Do you think it was ever possible? Plan too much for the Liberal Party?
Sorry?
Was the renewable energy plan too much for the Liberal Party?
No, not at all. I'm very happy with every one of our 57 policies and major announcements that we have released. The New Energy, New Jobs plan was all about creating tens of thousands of new jobs, diversifying our economy and bringing manufacturing back to WA. I'm very proud of it.
Was it ever possible for the Liberals to win this election, do you think?
Probably not. Probably not. I mean, the reality is history would be going against us in any case. 1974 was the last time that a first-term government was voted out of office in Western Australia. But what's at risk right now is that the Labor Party has returned with such a landslide majority that there is no one left to hold them to account. There's no strong Liberal Party there to stop Labor from going too far and from stopping them from making mistakes. That's what's at risk right now. It's obviously always going to be a very tough election. It was always going to be a very tough fight. But what is at risk now is a Labor landslide majority. And I think that would be a very big risk to the people of WA.
On November 24, you said no election is unwinnable. Has this changed your mind?
No, I still think no election is unwinnable. Ultimately, it's been a very difficult set of circumstances that the Liberal Party's fought in over the last 15, 16 weeks that I've been the Liberal Party leader. It has been a campaign like no other. This election is unprecedented. And right now, what we're doing is focused on the next 10 hours and making sure that we talk to as many West Australians about what the cost could be in a Labor Party landslide.
But you've said this election is unwinnable.
I've been very clear now that obviously after this election, Mark McGowan will be re-elected as Premier. The question now West Australians have to turn their mind to is how much power do you want him to have? Do you want him to have any checks and balances? Do you want the Labor Party to have total power? And the best way to make sure that there are those balances, there are those checks and balances, is to make sure you vote Liberal at this election.
60% of Dawesville has already voted.
Is it 60%?
It's 58 or 60%.
Yeah, right, okay.
What do you make of that? Do you think that it favours you or favours Labor?
I think time will tell. Dawesville and Mandurah, the district of Mandurah, have both always been districts that do vote early, typically by pre-poll or postal. What I hope it means is that the people in my district understand exactly what's at risk if there is a Labor Party landslide, and they want to support a strong Liberal team to make sure that we hold Labor to account.
You said that you'll leave politics if you lose. Have you put any thought towards what you would like to do? I mean, would you stay a part of the Liberal Party behind the scenes? Or?
Yeah, I have. I've been very clear in the same spirit of honesty that I think I've campaigned on throughout this election. I would leave politics if I'm not returned to my district. That's the reality. I haven't thought much more about that because at this moment I'm really genuinely very focused on 6 o'clock tonight, and that's where we're all working so hard together with the team to get to that point, and then we'll go from there.
If you don't retain,
to be Prime Minister won't come back?
No, not at all. I mean, obviously whatever happens after 6 o'clock today happens, and I'll take the view of my community here. If they don't want to return me, then that's their call. I'm hopeful that they will, but ultimately it's in their hands now.
Will you be done with the Liberal Party altogether?
I haven't. Well, I suspect not in terms of I will always help however I can, but parliamentary politics would be it for me.
If you're
Kirkup,
not
John
returned,
Howard and Colin Barnett are two people that lost elections and came back from nowhere to lead the country in one case and lead the state in another case. Are you inspired by people like that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it was John Howard who I met in the Midland Town Hall in 2004 that brought me into the Liberal Party. This has been a very long journey of mine over my lifetime. And I fear what could happen in the Labor Party landslide now if Labor gets too much power. That would be a significant change for the future of our state, and why it's so important that we get as many Liberals elected locally as possible. I'm very honoured to be the leader of the opposition, very honoured to be the Liberal Party leader. We'll see what happens after 6 o'clock today.
if you're not returned in Dawesville, will you be backing Libby Mettam to take over as leader?
I mean, it's not my call. That's the call of the party room, and whatever that looks like at that point.
Just reminiscing on the past 6 weeks, it's been a campaign that I don't think anywhere in the world has ever seen. Your thoughts? We've had suspicious packages, we've had lockdowns, we've had bushfires. What's your thoughts on the last 6 weeks?
It has been an unprecedented time, an election like no other, and it calls, I think, into question what will happen if Labor continues to get re-elected with a massive landslide. I mean, the election is still not yet over. It's not. We're very much focused until 6 p.m. today. I mean, it's been a lot of hard work, but there's still many more hours to go, and that's really what we're focused on at this point in time.
Are you tired? Have you got a few hours left in you?
Oh, absolutely. I'm not tired. I'm very focused on getting out there and fighting very hard up until 6 o'clock tonight. Thanks very much, everybody.
Thank you.